this thing. More stuff. But yeah, it's a tidy group today. It's a tidy group. Like I kind of thought Jonah might be a gift for these people, but
I've been thinking about it all week. Really?
oh yeah. I really enjoyed last week's.
Yeah.
Like that, seeing like the connections with like him sleeping on the cushion and like the calming of the storm.
Sounds like Jesus.
Yeah, there's all this messianic Jesus language. I mean, not even messianic language, just Jesus language.
Yeah.
And like what really excited me about it is how the Gospels go out of their way to make you look at Jonah too, and which makes me really think, because Jonah isn't this well-regarded prophet.
Right.
You know, it makes me seem like it's like, so Jonah is the Israelite, and then that's how we view Jesus too. And they're
Right.
like making that connection, and I'm like, that's cool.
It is very
Like that's not. I've taught Jonah a bunch over the years, and that connection isn't one that we've made, and with that first chapter there, and so that's really cool. And I was reading the Jews here, and they made me see something I hadn't seen either, that a lot of what we're about to read is directly quoted from the Psalms and stuff.
Right, yeah, I just read that this morning.
Yeah, I was like, that's so it kind of shows, a familiarity with the scriptures, and so that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So that's recording. We got all of our stuff here. So we could easily be in the small room today. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But it's good to see everyone here. Thanks for coming yesterday, Elaine. Having the hubs there and all of that. Yeah, that's it. I'm glad he's able to come out. So something we'll do like little announcement times here. So it's not guaranteed, but it's kind of looking like we're going to become a Wednesday night church thing now coming forward. I've got people who work who are asking for Bible studies and stuff. And so we're thinking about, after Lent is done, after the services, that we just kind of keep it all going and do an evening Bible study during Lent. Well, not during Lent, on Wednesdays. Because Coley will continue doing kid stuff. Because when Coley started doing kid stuff, kids are showing up.
Want to just do Wednesday night, or
Yeah.
do it Wednesday?
Oh no, well, we may still do this. We'll have to see. But if no one's showing up, we won't do this. Yeah.
Break.
Yeah. Like that's the so. Yeah.
Pastor, if you decide to do that, since it's for people who cannot make Sunday services, will you be doing any kind of small group communion?
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
I could do that. We could do that with your husband too. We could do that just the way we're doing it now. If you wanted to stick around for a little bit afterwards or something like that. Like that, that's definitely something that we can do. Since he's there.
Thanks.
Yeah. Just remind me. We can quit.
Okay.
Like that's we almost treat it like a home or hospital visit type of thing,
Okay.
And just in a little thing. So yeah. No, that's a good reminder, Elaine.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, we're just doing a Bible study on Wednesday. It'll be that 6:30 time frame. I wouldn't do a dinner, but I don't know. I got people that are like, like Tom Potter. I was telling him the idea. He's like, finally, yeah, like that. That's like so. I'm like, I don't know.
If you still do Thursday, it could be the same.
It could be the same. It could be
so
different.
It's easier for you.
Yeah.
You don't
It's the way I teach this. It's not like I don't really prepare much for this. I basically set up and kind of
Kidding.
read over a little bit. Like but that's kind of the point of how we do it. That's kind of the point of how we do it, is that it's not so much just my opinion, but it's us together working out the scriptures is my theory behind this Bible stuff. And so that's pretty good.
It works though, we do read a lot more scripture than we normally would.
Oh,
I know, like this morning, I read Nahum, because that was connected.
oh, yeah. So you're doing all your,
That's a short little book.
yeah. And so that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, it's, gosh, you think I would know where Jonah is. There we go. Here we go. I don't actually have the whole Old Testament books memorized. I have them memorized in sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start like
We need to
a-
get to the proper.
Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum. Yeah, like that.
Those minor prophets.
That's yeah. So that's definitely how I do it too. All right. So, but I'm just telling you that those things that we have some changes coming, and it's right now. I'm not planning on letting it affect this, but if it does affect it, we just adjust. We just adjust. And
I think
adding,
it sounds interesting if you duplicated this Wednesday night and this were the same, people have a choice.
yeah. The problem is keeping it the same.
Well, yeah, because one would get away.
Yeah, like
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the same, but at least the same.
well, and what I mean by keeping it the same, what I mean by that is sometimes, like if people aren't talking or something like that,
We get ahead of them.
we will get ahead,
Yeah.
yeah. and or sometimes people just ask questions that are, and like you don't go anywhere,
Right.
and there is a really good class, and it would be,
It might be easier to do totally different.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And so, and then I was telling Vance, there's also people that want to do a chosen thing. But
The Chosen.
the chosen,
Yeah.
that show.
And I
I
watched
have
it on
friends
TV.
that are like, shove that down your throat. You gotta watch
Yeah.
Yeah. People are like, they want to, and I think something like a once a month, 2-hour thing, kind of discuss a season or something like that, might be the most interesting way to do that.
Yeah.
And so,
And really, if the numbers drop off for Thursday, you could just do it in the winter, like when I'm here.
Well, this has always been a really strong study, and I don't know what's changed in the last, I don't know, few months. So like we'll see. Nothing is above death here. So like that's, and we adjust and we do what works.
Yeah.
And so, all right, well, let's begin here. So we're looking at Jonah. We looked at Jonah chapter 1. There was all these interesting connections with Jesus' life, and I think the Gospels were kind of forcing us to look at and do a compare and contrast with Jonah and Jesus, and so we'll read chapter 2. I have a feeling we're going to get on to chapter 3. Chapter 2 substantively there isn't a whole ton going on. So let us read Jonah chapter 2. Hold on. I thought I was ready. I was not. I thought I was ready. All right, there we go. Now I'm ready. This button, that one. All right, here we go. Hold hold on. Okay.
Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the fish's belly.
I cried out to the Lord because of my affliction, and he answered me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice. For you cast me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the floods surrounded me. All your billows and your waves passed over me. Then I said, I have been cast out of your sight. Yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The water surrounded me, even to my soul. The deep closed around me. Weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the moorings of the mountains. The earth with its bars closed behind me forever. Yet you have brought up my life from the pit. Oh, Lord my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer went up to you into your holy temple. Those who regard worthless idols forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay what I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord.
So the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land.
Okay. All right. So, what do we think of chapter 2?
Well, I think like you said, it's obvious he's a scholar of the scriptures to be able to compose poetry based on all these
Yeah.
psalms and, you know, but
Yeah.
yet he didn't pray to God when he was on the ship in the storm,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really change, knowing the rest, it doesn't change his attitude.
No.
Sort of like us.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, and so if we think about this the same way that we thought about it last week, where the way I got here is seeing the comparison with that, you know, Jesus is the one true Israelite, and Jonah kind of seems to be the true Israelite. You know, kind of the you know, you think about how the Israelites complained whenever things go bad. You know, out in the wilderness, out, you know, when they're in a captivity, or, you know, all these things, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, things are terrible, you know. And then also kind of makes me think about Job. You know, we're going through that on Wednesday right now, and, you know, and Job is like, you know, scratching his sores with broken pottery and things like that. Like it really sounds like that. You know, and it's like, oh yeah, here's all of these lamentations, which lamenting is good. You know, like that's good. And his life is pretty bad at the moment.
What's been better?
Yeah. It's there was that one day, you know, it was a Thursday, you know, like something like that. But no, it kind of sounds like, you know, he's, I don't know, I'm just shooting off the hip here because I feel like I have a new skill. But if you look at him like he's Israel, they want to do their own thing, you know. He wants to do his own thing, and ends up chasing after his own thing, even no matter what God would want him to do. It makes sense that this follows Joel and Amos, you know.
You're right, it's Israel when you think about the fact that they chose to do what they wanted to do, not what God, they didn't follow God's commands. They chose where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they ended up in deep trouble.
Yeah,
And then they prayed to God, and then God saved them.
yeah, yeah.
And it's what's happening in sequence through this chapter of Jonah.
It was, the Jewish Study Bible said something interesting, and I've never looked at it this way. I don't know if any of the other Bibles, so I don't know if you guys ever looked at it. Their study note for the beginning of this chapter, of chapter 2, it says, the fish never called a whale. And I thought that was funny, but then they say, rescues Jonah from the sea.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never
Thought of it as a rescue.
Yeah, I've never thought of it as a rescue.
It's interesting because this makes a note that it's never equated to the Leviathan.
Okay,
Yes, I've read that.
so it makes a note that it's never equated. That's interesting, because that's kind of where my brain goes because of all the sea stuff, and so it's never equated. That's interesting.
I just made this connection, maybe way off.
Yeah.
But when Christ went in the tomb,
Yeah,
they thought that was the end.
yeah,
Okay, now Jonah went into the sea, that's the end. But
Yeah.
it was a rescue for us. Christ
Yeah.
was a rescue for us.
yeah.
He had to go in.
Yeah. Like that's, no, and I think what you're saying there, I think is in full agreement with how the Gospels present that sign of Jonah. Like that, this is the sign of, like we keep talking about it. Where is the sign of Jonah? Let's see.
We looked it up.
Did we look it up last week?
Yeah, I didn't make it.
What are we looking for?
The sign of Jonah in Matthew 12.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, Matthew 12. It's also in Luke 11. Let's see. Let's read that again. I think we did last week too, but I think
12:40?
yeah, it's right there at the end of the chapter. Matthew 12. It's also important to see what's going on around it. Let's see, Matthew 12. So like the beginning of Matthew 12 is, I'm just looking at it says, Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath and the healing of the Sabbath. And then these unpardonable sins. And then all right, then the scribes and the Pharisees ask for a sign. Yeah.
It's the only sign they'll get.
And that is right before that is Jesus saying, either make a tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree bad and its fruit shall be bad. For a tree is known by its fruit. You brood of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? So he's talking about, so think about what Jonah's doing. He's speaking, he is the Israelite, he is bad. And all these things. And Jesus continues, a good man out of good treasure, out of his heart brings forth good things. An evil man out of evil treasure brings forth evil things. So this seems to be jiving with how we're looking at Jonah here. And then the verse right before the sign of Jonah. So this is verse 37 of chapter 12. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. Then verse 38. Then some of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. And he answered and said to them, an evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given except for the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh will rise up in the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and indeed a greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south will rise up in judgment with this generation and condemn it, for she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Indeed, a greater than Solomon is here. This is great. I need to remember this, because we're doing Kings after the week. we're doing kings, so we're doing like Solomon and all that stuff. Because Solomon, I grew up with Solomon having like this great reputation, you know? Like that, he was like, ooh, it's like God made him so wise and stuff like that. The problem is when I started reading it, I was like, it's like,
But you know what was false?
yeah, I'm like this is like, and then it's like there's all those little Easter eggs where he's like building the temple with slave labor and stuff like that. And it's like, like that's not good. But you can tell the way Jesus is putting this. He's like, someone better than Jonah is here, and someone better than Solomon is here. So it's almost like these two that are sitting in offices of holiness, but aren't actually that holy. And he's like, someone is better than here. And also both of these are connected with foreigners coming and actually speaking truth, where the ones who should have the truth aren't. You know? So the Ninevites are actually repenting, even off of the terrible sermon. Like that's, and so you have, okay, this is cool. So it's, I think the Gospels are forcing us to look right at Jonah and see the true and better one, the true and better one over Solomon and even Jonah. And then Luke was the other one. Is it the same story in Luke? So 11, chapter 29.
It's interesting because the same reference is made in Matthew also, again later, 16.
Is it? In Matthew chapter 16?
Matthew 16, he says, a wicked and adulterous generation looks to a miraculous sign, but none will be given except the sign of Jonah. Jesus then left them and went away.
So again, he keeps talking about Jonah, which that may be the strongest indication for that 3 days. The 3 days in the tomb.
Right.
You know, because Jonah's in that fish for 3 days.
My note says it's the first, in the NIV, the first time Jesus says something about his death.
Wow.
You know.
There in
This is
Matthew
the
12?
First hint Jesus gives of his coming death.
Okay.
But interestingly, so do you think in the New Testament that the Jewish people looked at Jonah as a successful prophet because he saved Nineveh? One of the notes, and I can't find it, in the Jewish Study Bible, they said something like in the introduction, Jonah, probably the most successful prophet because Nineveh was so big. He saved so many people. So I wonder what the Jewish people's, you know, because he says someone greater than Jonah, you know, like Jonah's great. Jesus is the truth. I'm greater than Jonah.
Yeah.
And Solomon was great, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and I wonder if there's, because things can have two meanings.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's some cheeky meaning going on. Because that is, like, Jonah is wildly successful in Nineveh, really kind of cutting off his nose to spite his face.
Right.
You know, like that's
Yeah.
like he's not really meaning to be. But I'm wondering if there's like a both and with Jonah going on there, that he is.
Gets me as though Nineveh, it didn't last. In the end,
Yeah,
they went right back to their old ways.
yeah.
A few 100 years later, they were non-existent.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's, and I think Jonah's point, I think the point of Jonah, and we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but I think the point of Jonah is kind of like where Jesus says even the rocks will cry out. You know, like it's I think it's like you guys are putting so much faith in who you are and how you're practicing. Like it's, you know, if like Jesus says as he's coming in to Jerusalem, you know, if they don't cry out, even the rocks will cry out.
Right.
You know, like and there's, And so like I looked at the Luke passage, it's exactly the same as Matthew's for chapter 12. So, but there's these two references about demanding a sign and looking for Jonah. So I think it's wrapped up. So, and you see Jonah in our scriptures here, where you have this very lamenty, he knows the scriptures. It seems like my cross references in here is just chock filled with Psalms, as we're going through here, but also Lamentations, Kings and Chronicles, and Job and Isaiah. Like it's just cross-referencing all these passages going down.
All the way to Genesis.
Yeah,
References all the way down.
like it's just like you were talking about the waters surround. That's what we read last night, actually. The verse 5 of chapter 2 of Jonah. That's that Jonah. Are they referencing that? Verse 5? They're not. That is Job chapter 19, verse 25 or something like that, where the waters surround me, even to my soul, deep closes around me as the weeds are wrapped around my head. Like it was, but like even that waters language, is kind of that pit of despair of being in the midst of the trouble, right?
Well, isn't the reference to the water of the seas a reference to the pit?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're seeing him in the same sort of as you say, the pit of despair.
Yeah.
This place where, in theory, God isn't. I realize God is there.
Yeah, no.
It's a separation.
Well, you have that abyss, from Revelation, which is all that same terminology. The unencumbered sea at the beginning of creation, the abyss pit, at the end of Revelation, and like you kind of have this reference to it with the sea. I don't know, is fascinating, and I think him lamenting in the midst of going into the sea and being swallowed by the fish is very Israelite in the wilderness, Israelite in the
And God preserved, because he said, go ahead, kill me. He thought he was going to die.
yeah.
Just like for Israel, all the things they did wrong, God didn't wipe them off because they had a job to do.
Yeah.
Whether they were doing it correctly or not.
Yeah.
God will accomplish his purpose even if they're not willing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of it's how we view the cross too. Like that's those songs that we sing that say like it was my sin that put him there. It was all of their chanting crucify, like that. That's and so you're kind of seeing that in the midst of Jonah, which is fascinating because it's in the Old Testament.
Right.
Like it's like, oh, this is how God has always been. Like that's like this way, this is how he saves people. Anything else standing out to you from chapter 2 before we go to 3?
One little footnote they have for verse 9, salvation is of the Lord, and then look down and it says that's the theme of the Bible.
Salvation is from the Lord. Yeah, exactly. And salvation is from the Lord right there. And so the Lord spoke to the fish and it vomited it out on dry land. And again, I can't unsee stuff. Like it says dry land. It's not, it doesn't like in the sea near land or something like that. Like that's, like it's, I can't unsee sea versus land imagery now. It's kind of this cosmic metaphor.
Just a side note, I was reading a different translation that said, and the whale, the fish, left him on the dry land.
Left him.
Which is a whole lot sweeter than.
Yeah, than vomited.
I don't know why that struck me as funny.
Like that is funny. Let's Let's actually do the word. Let's look it up real fast. Let's
This one
let me bring over Elaine.
Spewed.
Spewed.
Yeah,
Which is pretty close to vomited.
Yeah.
the other Bible I have at home says he spit him out or spat him upon the dry land.
Well, did you see in one of the footnotes in the 1700s, a guy was swallowed by some kind of a shark?
Oh,
They
yeah.
shot it with a cannon, and they spewed him out alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in one of the
Oh.
books one of the Bible books I read.
I hadn't.
Yeah, that on the footnotes.
I don't think I'd like to.
Here, we'll get rid of freedom air here. Okay, so, and it was vomited. Let's see what's going on with this word. Only time and specific word. Let's look at Strong's. So it's the same, so the King James does, they're upon the land itself vomited out of their inhabitants, or punishment and out of the land inhabitants is how, that's interesting. Spewed out of Leviticus, out of the land and defiled it. Spew you, so it gets used as out a lot. And so Job.
Did he say that with one church when they were lukewarm?
Well, that's Hebrew. Like it's, I wonder. It would take a little bit to get there. With, then Jonah. If it uses that, it might be worth it. How do I do that quickly? Well, let me just ask this. Let me get off of this. Whoops, stop share. I'll just ask this.
Hey, Claude.
Is the Greek word for spew in Revelation, when he's talking about the lukewarm church, the same word that's used in the Septuagint for the fish vomiting Jonah? No, it's different.
It's different.
Mm-hmm. It's related, but it's different. So Revelation is much more of a vomit or throw up, and the Septuagint uses cast out, throw out. And so yep. Well, good old Gemini.
Smarter than we are.
Yeah.
Really?
Like it's like the
To
fact
the
that
point
you
you're
just
trying to
ask
get.
it a question, and it did all that. All right, so let's do chapter 3. Let's do chapter 3. Let's bring Elaine over. And optimize for video. All right, here we go.
Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time.
Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and preach to it the message that I tell you.
So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city, a 3-day journey in extent. And Jonah began to enter the city on the first day's walk. Then he cried out,
Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown.
So the people of Nineveh believed God, proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth, from the greatest to the least of them. Then word came to the king of Nineveh. And he arose from his throne and laid aside his robe, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he caused it.
Uh-oh. What happened?
And he caused it to be proclaimed and published throughout Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles.
Let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink water, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and cry mightily to God. Yes, let everyone turn from his evil way and from the violence that is in his hands. Who can tell if God will turn and relent and turn away from his fierce anger, so that we may not perish?
Then God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way. And God relented from the disaster that he had said he would bring upon them, and he did not do it.
Okay. All right. So I kind of saw something here, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right. So what stood out to you in 3 here?
Well, it went so fast. He was only in there a day in this huge city.
Yeah.
And everyone repented.
Like that's it. It's interesting how it describes how big the city is.
Look at the number 40 again.
Yeah.
So 40.
Yeah.
So 40 is important in there.
It says in the notes here that the city of Nineveh, the archaeological excavation says it's only 8 miles around. But in fact, if it required 3 days, it suggests a larger area, such as a 4-city complex of Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calah, and Rosen, mentioned in Genesis 10. Greater Nineveh covered an area of 60 miles in circumference.
Okay.
On the other hand, 3 days may have been a conventional way of describing a medium-length distance.
Yeah. Yeah, Elaine?
I thought it was really interesting that the animals didn't get to eat or drink, and they were even covered with sackcloth. And my footnote in the Bible just says that just shows the urgency with which the Ninevites sought mercy.
Yeah.
It made me want the sackcloth concession.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're kind of seeing where the heart of this book is. Like even, even the animals are like that. That's, even the house cats put on their little, even the little pugs, they were putting on their sackcloth and ashes and, like that. That's, you can see that there's a wry smile to this whole thing, like that's in the largeness of it all. I also think that, we've already been introduced to a 3 before with Jonah, where he was in the whale for 3 days. And then that's also how the city is being described and how big it is. Like that's it's this great.
It doesn't tell you who that king is. I often wondered who was king there at that time.
Yeah.
I looked in different books and I couldn't find it either.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of just saying, I think it's saying something bigger than any one person type of thing. Yeah. So what else kind of stood out to you here? What else stood out to you?
Well, and it was in the Bible Project, that he said, no mention of God or what your sin is, just.
It's like you guys are going to
Get
get
fried in 40 days.
Yeah.
There's no message, just, you're going to be undone or whatever it was.
Yeah. Like that's like, So see, what does he say? So, and he cried out and said, yet 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown. That's, in the Bible Project saying they have overturned, and so that's so their whole, the Bible Project's thing in the bottom of their passage is Jonah means destroyed, as in like Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what Genesis 19 is. This destroyed, but what ends up happening is that it's a different use of the word for changed, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, like that's, and so what Jonah is actually saying and what he means, but God is kind of using it. What is the name of that movie? There's a movie, I don't know how much I recommend the movie. I think it's a Darren Aronofsky movie, which is, Darren Aronofsky movies are strange. In any way, I think it's The Fountain of Youth or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but all I do is I remember the end. And it's these people they're looking for the Fountain of Youth. And I think one of them was like a doctor, like a cancer doctor, and his wife or girlfriend or something like that gets diagnosed, and he's looking for the Fountain of Youth. And they find it. They find the Fountain of Youth. And when he drinks it, he immediately becomes all the foliage all around him. And so, like, all of a sudden, all these flowers and stuff like that overtake him and kill him, but now he's living forever. And that ending, I think about it probably way more than I should. But I always liked it because he was always looking to live forever, but he was looking to live forever on his terms.
Be careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for.
Wow.
You see why I like that phrase so much. It's stuff that sticks with me. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. And so all of a sudden he became all these flowers that were around the fountain of youth. And like it is, I just remember like, I've only watched that movie once. And so like that's.
What happened to his girlfriend or what?
I think she actually died, and that like he was trying to drink it himself then. And so like and so it was, I don't know, like it was just, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. And but that's kind of what I see with Jonah here. He's like, you're gonna be overthrown or overturned. What did the Jews say anything interesting?
Yeah, well, interesting. It says in the notes, the message is that the success of the prophet is not dependent on his attributes or rhetorical power, but on the will of God.
Okay, yeah. So that is really cool connections with the Jesus stuff, with the sign of Jonah again. Like that you're seeing the saving power of the will of God being embodied in the person of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so like that's an interesting play. And that's what you see with the people of Nineveh. So the big thing that I saw when we were just reading this that I thought was really cool is Nineveh did what Israel never would.
Supposed to be the greatest revival recorded in history.
Yeah. So they never did. So Israel,
It lasted 100 years. Before they were destroyed.
So what's interesting about this is that Israel was always warned, and it's not until they were in the belly of the fish, in the midst of the sea, that they are like, oh no, woe is me, like all these things, right? But here in Nineveh, before they're destroyed, is repenting, and the repentance is so deep. Even Phoebe the pug is got sackcloth and ashes, and and is pushing the food away.
It's interesting. We just read Matthew 12:40.
Yeah.
And about the sign of Jonah.
Yeah.
So one more verse, and it says, "The men of Nineveh stand up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, for they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And no one is greater than Jonah. No one greater than Jonah is here."
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
It was just interesting that it was right after we stopped reading, it goes on and,
Well, and so that section there, this is a strong, and this is something that sits heavy with me, is like, oftentimes we will I gotta be careful how I word this. Israel was like, we are special because we are God's people, you know? And it's easy for us to fall into that same thing. Well, it's like, oh, well, this is just what I am. I'm so much better. But that's like a sense of pride. And Jesus is like, well, when you actually put the rubber to the road, like the Ninevites will actually condemn you now. Like you want to sit and condemn like the Samaritans and beyond. And you look at Revelation and how it's pushing against that. But you also look at just how the Bible itself pushes against that notion, where it's like all the nations will praise God. And I think a lot of times, a lot of people will define that as like, oh, that's like God expressing his power over them. And they're like, oh, bowing in submission or something like that. I don't get that sense. You know, and it's Revelation, we're quoting Revelation in the sermon on Sunday, and there at the end of Revelation 21, and it's talking about how all the, the sun and the moon isn't needed anymore because the Lamb will be its light. And it says that all the nations of the world are bringing their glory into it. And I think you're getting that taste with how it's being quoted in Matthew there, with the Ninevites. They're bringing their light into it. It's like, guys, you know, but the nations and the creation are the glory of God. It's a different way of looking at it than like, oh, I'm saved by my own righteousness.
Well,
you know,
the thing that kind of my mind when we started this was I didn't really ever know, or it was never discussed when we had studied Jonah in the past, that how bitter the enemies, the Ninevites, were to the Israelites.
Yeah.
And the story,
they're terrible people.
Yeah, the story is about loving these
alive,
yeah,
all kinds of
yeah,
and having mercy on these people who hate you, and you apply that to your life. Maybe I don't know a lot of people who hate me, but there's people certainly that I disagree with or are very different than me. That in my head I can judge like that.
Yeah.
And like, man, that's just a slippery slope there.
But the other thing that's interesting is that Jonah didn't want to go because he didn't want them to be saved.
Right.
He wanted God to destroy them.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and
then he said he knew, because I knew you were going to save him. He said, why should I go?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Like that. That's
a powerful lesson.
Well, and it's my favorite thing, and this is all theological candy. I've got no theological standing in this, but one of my favorite things to think about right now is, will people remove themselves from like the hereafter, you know, whatever that looks like, because there are people that are being forgiven that they would never.
It's like the Great Divorce.
Yeah, it's like the Great Divorce. Yeah, it's like the Great Divorce. It's like I would rather be angry and choose hell where I feel like I have a victory rather than becoming a servant and living in that forgiveness. And that is where it's fascinating. Like when you read then the Lord's Prayer, when it's like, forgive us our sins as we have forgiven others. You know, it's like, you know, we often treat forgiveness as this one way thing. And we see Jonah acting out in this way, like, no, these people deserve to be destroyed.
Right.
You know, and then when he gives the worst sermon that's ever been given, and even the animals and stuff, like even the hamsters have little sackcloths and stuff like that, you know, like that's even they are pushing away their seeds and fasting, and you know, like Like that's fascinating, you know. And it's something that Israel never did. And Tracy, when you were talking a bit ago, you were reminding me we did Judges a few years ago on Sunday morning after Easter. And the way Judges works, it's kind of the opposite of this, where it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it gets to the point where at the beginning of Judges, they're fighting with all these other nations. But that spirit of fighting continues on, and where at the end, they're fighting and destroying each other. You know? And I think Judges is saying something kind of profound. It's like, you think that if you finally get rid of the baddies, that spirit's going to go away. When the hammer is your tool, everything's going to be a nail. You know, like that's and like that's and I think Judges is getting it's frankly it's why I'm not a big fan of Joshua. Like, because it's all this warring. I think that's why Judges is sitting right there with it. That it's like, hey, Joshua didn't work. like that. That's I think, you know, as we go through there, and then that gets us to the age of the kings, and then that ends with David and gets into Solomon, Solomon looks righteous like Jonah, but he's not. You know, like it's I don't know, like it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Let's see here. Oh, so my things. So everything that they do kind of sounds like what Jonah did inside the fish. All the things that he was saying and doing, you know, like it sounded like Job. Like it's like, here I am repenting in sackcloth and ashes, and like that they're doing that, but they're doing it. But it was before the fish. It was before the trouble.
Yeah.
You know, like there's, and so you have this. Like, I don't know. It's like watching your enemy be better than you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Jonah. Like it just, because I imagine like all he wants is for these people to be destroyed, and he gives a purposely terrible sermon. You know, like, and doesn't
Really tell you much about a sermon. I'll overthrow.
Yeah.
You overthrew him in 40 days. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But God uses it to change their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the point that right there. You know, like that's it. You know, especially if Jonah is the Israelites, they have gone away, and we're actually seeing righteousness in these other places. I mean, that's kind of the point of Jesus' Good Samaritan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you have all these Jonahs that pass by the guy that was hurt. You know, like that's a wild sermon. It's wild how much I don't preach on that sermon. There's a lot.
It is pretty wild. I don't understand why you don't.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't really get. Yeah, I don't. So that's yeah. Like there's this dichotomy where, especially if we're viewing Jonah as the Israelites, and we're seeing that God is almost declaring that these other people are righteous. You know, like that's interesting.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
That's interesting. That flies in the face of a lot of understanding about what the nature of salvation is. And I can't remember who said it. I think Tracy, when you read it in here, that it was like this is showing like the act of salvation that is God's or something like that. What was that quote?
What's the quote? Isn't it? In 9, I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, that despite Jonah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, the message is that the success of the prophet is not dependent on his attributes or rhetorical power, but on the will of God.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Because it's interesting, when you think of that too, in 10, it says he relented and God renounced the punishment he had planned to bring upon them. So it was his plan.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a fascinating book.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating book. And so then you see, all right, so we make the gospel connections again. And you see that Jesus, dies in the midst of all of this stuff, which flings open the gates for the Ninevites, us.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Greeks and and that's all those things with the curtain in the temple being ripped and all these things that God it's just the Spirit of God relenting type of thing, because Jesus took it on, which is fascinating. I'm looking at this book completely different than any way I've looked at it.
And it's kind of interesting, it just doesn't end there with big success.
Yeah, we get to 4 and there's God makes a big point in 4.
Jonah makes a point too, but it's not the same.
No, because I knew you'd be nice. But all right, well, we'll end there today. Thanks for everyone that's watching on the recording. All right, let me stop the recording. Oh, there we go.